With great power comes great responsibility.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move. It is your duty to plant yourself like a tree. Look them in the eye and say no. You move.
Never step onto the battlefield of ideas unprepared. Before you enter the fray, you need a plan. And there's no better place to get one than right here on Tactics with host Caleb Colquitt. The Situation Room goes live now on News Radio 1440.
And welcome in, everybody, and happy Festivus. It is our big Festivus special this year, so welcome to Tactics, where speech isn't violence, tolerance isn't love, and disagreement isn't hate. Welcome into the program. As always, this is our big December 23rd Festivus special, so get excited, everybody. And just like last year, we have a very special guest host who we've had on. It's been a Festivus tradition, which of course is always fun, that we have Laura on with us, Laura Clark, but this time we have an extra special guest, her husband, Matt Clark, who is also with us. So welcome to the program, guys. Say hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Extra special edition to Baby Clark on the way this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. So, Laura, how is growing a human inside of you been going?
It's rough. I have extra grievances this year.
Got some pregnancy grievances, huh?
I do.
Well, you know, that acts as a perfect segue into what has become a real Festivus tradition here, the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the airing of grievances this year. I'm going to go ahead and go first since, you know, my show.
Yeah, makes sense.
The mask Karens. I am so tired of the mask Karens. Every single place that you go, there's always somebody that is going to inevitably come out and start trying to shame you for not wearing a mask. Look, there's 100 different reasons that somebody might choose not to wear a mask, and that's none of your dang business. It could be that the person's already had the coronavirus and thus is no longer contagious. It could be that the person has some kind of respiratory issue. It could just be the person doesn't want to wear it, and this is freaking America, and they ought to have the right to do that. It may just come down to that. But either way, mind your own business.
Yeah, okay, so that's on my list too this year. Because, I mean, and Caleb and I did not coordinate on this.
No, we totally didn't. We never tell each other what our grievances are going to be.
And I think I just kind of, like, called it the mask Nazis, but the mask Karen, with, like, / mask Karens. But it's accurate. Like, come on, guys. It costs you 0 cents to mind your own business. So save money this Christmas and keep it to yourself.
It's very true. And I've got to say, too, one of the things that annoys me about the whole mask thing, and, you know, despite the fact that constitutionality and all the other...
I mean, yeah, the Constitution aside.
The fact that the science at best is inconclusive and worst, like every single time we've tried to prove that the masks work, they don't work. What bothers me is the smugness.
Oh my gosh, like, do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just do, I love the whole thing of, like, legislators, like, just do the right thing and order a nationwide mask mandate. And I'm like, that's called violating the law, but okay. Well, don't worry about it.
Even, like, sweeping the constitutional concerns aside, which I mean, like, you know that's a big thing with me, but even if you ignore that, like, for example, in my family, there's one of these mask Karens that got very upset at me for not wearing a mask and just said, I can't believe you don't believe in the science of masks, which I love how the science has become like this religious catch-all that just means whatever I agree with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the science doesn't even agree with them, but whatever.
Right, and then I said, look, I don't think it's doing anything. I've done shows, I mean, I've literally did a daily coronavirus update where I was following the numbers, and there is no difference in places that have mask mandates versus places that don't have mask mandates when it comes to cases. And I said, but you know what, even though I don't believe it, I will still wear one around your family if it makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
To which the response to that was, but you're not going to wear one in the days leading up to it, so it really doesn't make a difference. And I'm like, but I thought the whole science of the mask would say that it's not to protect you, it's to protect other people. And so how would that have any effect on whether or not I have the virus when I'm around you? Like, they don't even follow their own logic.
Well, no, of course not, because you actually had to have logic to do that. Like, here's the thing, guys. I mean, it's like, okay, maybe it has some level of effectiveness, but scientifically speaking, we have there's just not a lot of conclusiveness on it because, like, I mean, we've had a mask mandate for how long here in Alabama?
I believe it was July 16th.
Yeah, and cases are still spiking right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's not working out for you. But there's legitimate reasons for people not to do it. I mean, even if you are the type of person who's like, well, I just want my liberty, like, I can see how you sound stupid.
And I'm that guy. I'm not gonna lie.
But like, there's people like, look, I can't wear a mask for very long right now. I have to put it down, remove it from my nose anyway because I'm pregnant and I can't breathe very well. Then I deal with clients all day, every day who are saying like, I'm a sexual assault victim. I can't handle a mask over my face because I get panic attacks.
Right.
That's a thing. So
there are people with extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people with extreme claustrophobia that have issues with that.
I mean, these are real things. Y'all just need to keep y'all's opinions to y'allself, and then y'all do the right thing, okay? No, you do the right thing, and just shut up.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. Well, since technically that was one of mine, do you want to do one of yours now?
Yeah. Okay. So, look, this is just my complaint right now. But the people who post pictures or descriptions of food on Facebook or any social media, number one, who cares? Number two, no. Number one and number two are both who cares. Number three, there are pregnant ladies out there, and you're making us all sick, okay? Like, seriously, I'm seeing your posts, and I'm over here barfing. Just because I saw a picture, or, like, not kidding, like, the other night, somebody posted, I went and got all this fried food and then described all the fried food that she got for her kids. And, like, she and her kids ate. I was sick the rest of the night.
It's true. I can attest to that.
Because somebody was like, I want to share how fattening I'm, making my kids and myself. Like, congrats for your diabetes. Leave the rest of us out of it. That's my complaint.
Okay, well, that's one that, as a man, since I can't get pregnant, regardless of what the left tells you, I can't. I can't do it. My body will not do that. I can't really relate to that, but it sounds like a legitimate grievance, and now I'm just going to post pictures of like everything that I fixed just to mess with you.
I refer you to number one and number two. Who cares?
All right. Well, one of my big grievances this year was arguments of authority. Now, I think that and it does have to do with the coronavirus. Because of that, there have been a significant amount of arguments of authority. But the thing is, this has been something that's been a thorn in my flesh for eons now.
Yeah, well, it's considered a logical fallacy for a reason.
It is a logical fallacy. Now, there are some legitimate appeal to authority. For example, an eyewitness testimony. That is an authoritative source because the person was actually there and witnessed what happened.
Well, it's considered actual knowledge versus...
Right. But the thing that just drives me up a wall is when somebody's like, well, I happen to have a degree in this particular field, ergo, I must be right. No, you're not. Just because somebody has a degree... I actually did this not long ago, and we're not going to talk about this in the Daily Dose of Stupid Awards because I didn't think it rose to that level, but Chris Rock was like trying to make the case that we need to just listen to the experts, and I'm like, you mean experts like comedians?
Yeah, okay. The experts like you guys? Sure, all right.
Right.
What's your degree in again?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Everybody wants to make an argument of authority when the authority figure is on their side. That's why it was so funny to watch Chris Cuomo's brain just explode on TV when he was listening to Scott Atlas. He's like, oh my gosh, there's a guy he's not a real doctor. He's like a doctor that doesn't deal with pandemics. He literally doesn't know any more than a guy that stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I'm like, you're a talk show host, dude.
He knows more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I'm a talk show host too, but I'm just saying, let's not try to make an argument of authority when you're actually the guy with less authority.
Yeah, or like knocking other people's authority. Like, I mean, I get this all the time because I dabble in the constitutional arts occasionally.
Yeah, right.
But people can be like, well, what do you know? You're a family law attorney. I'm like, I'm trained in like all of it, right? Like, I didn't specialize in family law. That just happens to be what I do all the time.
That's another thing that bugged me. I love, you remember a few months ago when Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci got into that fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and, it was over schools. And Dr. Fauci was basically like saying that Rand Paul just doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Jake Tapper goes, yeah, Rand Paul, who he's not like a real doctor. He's an eye doctor. And I'm like, well, first of all, he still went to medical school.
You're trained in all of that, right? Like,
yeah.
You specialize later.
Right, he did specialize in the eye, but he is a real medical doctor, regardless of what, Jake Tapper thinks about it.
Well, and he was agreeing with them on the facts, too.
Yeah.
Like, the facts are there, but he's coming to a different conclusion about what you do with that.
Right, but see, the funny thing is, here we are, 5-6 months later, and now Dr. Fauci is saying exactly what Dr. Rand Paul was saying 5 months ago when he called him an idiot and said he doesn't know what he's talking about, so...
I mean, who are we kidding? Fauci is actually just a politician, so...
Well, I mean, he's a doctor, too, but he's a doctor that's been a bureaucrat for the past 3 decades, so... that does make a difference, but anyway... Just the argument of authority thing just drives me up a wall whenever someone trots it out. I have people in the biblical field that, they swear up and down if somebody has like a Bible degree or whatever, then they must be right and I must be wrong on stuff with Bible. It's like, well, if the scripture says this, I don't really care what degree the guy has.
Bingo.
I mean, you can have a degree in stupid. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, like Matt...
I know some lawyers who have a law degree that are really stupid.
Like Matt, I was actually about to bring this up. Matt, you know this probably better than most. Just because a guy has a degree doesn't mean that he can say, well, the Constitution doesn't say this, even though that's clearly what it says.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes the people that get the Constitution wrong the most are lawyers and judges. I remember back when the same-sex marriage battles were going on, there was one case, there was a federal district judge who wanted her opportunity to jump on board the LGBT bandwagon, and she began her opinion by saying, as our Constitution says, each person has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm like, you're a federal judge, and you can't even distinguish the Constitution from the Declaration of Independence. This is bad. This is very bad. You need to not.
People real smart.
Well, I think that is what it goes down to is, and I say the same thing when it comes to the Constitution or the Bible, like, if you have the authoritative source and it's saying one thing and an egghead with 10 degrees and letters behind their name says something else, you go with the source. You don't go with the egghead. Like, don't tell me what the Constitution says. Just let me read the Constitution. Don't tell me what the Bible says. Just let me read the Bible. It's not that complicated. Anyway, Laura?
Well, this one goes along with what you said, but I call them Facebook lawyers. And
so this is the reverse argument
this
of
is kind
authority.
of the reverse of it. It's not that I'm saying I'm the authority on it, but what I think, number one is I went to 3 years of law school, and that was hard, guys. I didn't do it because I want to beat you in an argument at Facebook.
What are you talking about? It was super easy. I was there the whole time, and you were like, we're never studying and partying all night long.
I mean, that's accurate, but I still made it through. But, no, so I clearly didn't do it for that reason. But my thing is that if you're not a lawyer and you're on Facebook arguing like you are, maybe have some humility about it so where you can recognize, maybe I'm wrong about this. Because I am a lawyer, and I can tell you 100% of the time, law is just theory. And I'll sit there and tell you, I could be wrong about this. That's one thing, but this is what I'm thinking it is.
Right, but see, here's the difference in what we were just talking about and what you're talking about, because I want to make that distinction for our audience. An argument of authority is saying, solely because of my authority, I am correct. Mm-hmm. The difference in what you're talking about is...
because you're lacking authority, you definitely are not correct.
Right. I am a lawyer, but here is my argument. I've shown my work. This is why I'm right, not because I'm a lawyer.
And I'm annoyed by the people who are just like, well... Let's see, what did I see recently? You don't go to court without all of the evidence. I'm like, bull crap. You go to court and then you get the evidence. That's how this works, guys.
It's like, that's what discovery's for, people.
Yeah, exactly. Or, this is another of my favorites. Like, I saw one person that was like, I hate how people will call themselves experts on case law, or on, expert lawyers on Facebook without even having read the cases. And he's talking about just laymen who are...
Yeah.
And this guy's not a lawyer. I never hear like, or
Yeah.
like, yeah, sure, or having gone to law school. And I'm like, if you won't look down your nose at other people, fine, but just realize the rest of us are looking down at you.
Matt, you ever run into these Facebook attorneys?
Yes, so not as much on my Facebook page. A lot of the people that are either insanely stupid or extremely arrogant have already defriended me by now, so it's fine. But
Hey, you use the weed out method just like I do.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of natural selection on Facebook.
Unfollowed them.
Yeah, right. So that happens sometimes. But one thing that has happened, over the past week, we have gotten in on some of these election cases at the Supreme Court, and my phone has been blowing up with emails from a lot of people who I think are coming from a great place. They're patriotic and they want to be involved. I get that. I love that. However, I'm getting a lot of emails from people that think they have the solutions to all these problems, and it usually begins with, under penalty of treason, do not alter this document. I'm like,
I don't think you understand how it works.
Sorry, this is going in the spam folder. That's how this is going, guys.
We're like those idiots on Facebook who are like, Facebook lawyers say, if you don't share this exactly like this in your Facebook page, I'm like, yo, look, did the Nigerian prince tell you to post that? Y'all need to quit.
I actually have posted several of those, but I alter them so that they are somewhat different, and so I just wait to see if people will catch on. Like, one of mine ended without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. That was my favorite one.
I think my favorite one I've seen floating around is like, according to the Facebook Dragon Lords, it's gonna, if you don't share this, the dragon will come and eat you.
Right.
And it's like, I will share that every
too.
single time.
Right. That's like the only if you don't share this thing that because I guarantee you this could actually be a grievance on its own, even though I'm not going to do that. Make sure to share, that guarantees I'm not going to share it.
Oh my gosh. If somebody says, share if you love Jesus, or
Yes.
scrolling past this means you love the devil, but sharing means you love Jesus. And I'm like, cool, I read that in my Bible too last week.
I think my favorite one, though, is the meme that's like, you won't share this because you're afraid of having Jesus on your timeline, and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's the best thing.
Like, somebody needs to read their Bible a little better.
Or watch Star Wars, either one.
Yeah.
I'd prefer you read the Bible, but Star Wars is a close second.
Or just look it up.
All right. So another one of mine, and this is a big one, I mean, especially this year. I'm so freaking sick of the media telling me that I'm not seeing what I'm seeing with my own eyes. Mm-hmm. Drives me up a freaking wall. I mean,
pay no attention to what you're seeing behind you.
Right, like it's happened so many times this year. The BLM riots, where there's literally buildings burning behind MSNBC's Al Veshti, being like, we just want to make sure that everyone knows. So far, everything has been mostly quiet, and there's not. It's like, dude, there's a city burning behind you.
Yeah, it's the epitome of Silent Night over there. Cool.
Right. Well, don't worry.
Silent bombs.
Don't worry, because it's just a mostly peaceful tree lighting ceremony.
Oh, okay.
So
that's going on. I loved it, the whole, Kyle Rittenhouse case. Like, yeah, he was out there just shooting people up. I'm like, did you hear the gunshots? So, I don't think I have to try to convince a jury of that one. Mm-hmm. I don't practice criminal law, and I could win that case.
There's actual video evidence of him fleeing an angry mob with guns firing at him.
All right, no, but he's the white supremacist. That's what's going on.
But right, or the Hunter Biden thing, clear evidence that Hunter Biden, had been involved in China and Ukraine. Literal videotape of Hunter Biden saying in an interview that if his last name were not Biden, he would not have gotten those deals.
Oh, but there was no corruption.
Right, no corruption. And then, what is it? We're 3 weeks after the election, and now all of a sudden, guys, did you hear Hunter Biden's super corrupt and involved in all these deals?
It's all levels of ridiculous. And I loved about that one how at the very beginning, what was it? All these stories, all these news outlets wouldn't post the story, and then Twitter wouldn't allow you to share it.
Right, they actually banned anybody that shared it.
Yeah, and they were just like, oh, it's because it's unsubstantiated. So the Trump tax records one that was completely unsubstantiated. Mm-hmm. You were cool with that, all right.
Well,
but where we have actual evidence backing up the Hunter Biden stuff.
But Laura, anonymous sources.
Oh, okay.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Those taxes were also provided by anonymous sources.
It's
Weird
like,
how that works.
Yeah, so none of it made sense. I was like, this is the most... Honestly, I think Democrats have narcissistic personality disorder.
I think that's got to be part of it. But another one that the media did this on and just gaslit everybody hardcore, Joe Biden's health.
Oh my gosh.
Like, quit.
Is he alive?
Look, I get it. He's not a vegetable, but let's not pretend like this is the Joe Biden of the 90s.
No, it's
Like,
not.
have
Dude,
you
broke his ankle chasing his dog. Also, can we talk about why he was chasing his dog while he was naked and chasing his tail?
Yep.
I don't even want to touch that. No, but
The dog didn't either.
Well, apparently not. But no, I'm talking about like just straight up telling you that there's nothing to see here when it comes to Joe Biden's health, and the guy can't get through a paragraph without completely butchering a sentence.
No, yeah, they didn't even talk about that.
Like, I'm not saying that you have to say that the guy, belongs in an old folks home, even though I kind of think that he does.
He does.
But, I expect the media to at least be able to admit that, like, the Joe Biden that we saw in the Clarence Thomas hearings is not the same Joe Biden that you're seeing now that has to call it a day at 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
That's
But
basically
anyway.
me.
The election fraud thing, seeing clear evidence of it. I'm not even saying widespread. I'm not even saying enough to overturn the election. But clearly, like, some election fraud went on, and that was obvious, and then telling us that there
That's
was
fair.
none. This would be the first election in American history that didn't have some election fraud, according to them.
That's interesting. That's never happened, actually.
Yeah, and we could do a whole show on this by itself, but the coronavirus stuff, where they're, like, freaking out about Florida when Florida's death numbers are on the decline and Indiana's are rising, or Illinois.
Oh,
Illinois
and then,
are on the rise, but no.
No, Florida.
DeSantis, that guy's the devil, and then
But Como's like the best.
right, Lori Lightfoot is a savior, and I'm just like, you people are morons.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, no, let's go ahead and give Andrew Cuomo, like, what was it, the Emmy? He's giving him.
He's getting an Emmy,
goodness
and he's
gracious.
on a book tour right now
for how he handled the stinking coronavirus. I'm like, oh, cool. So you're like touring because how you killed all these old people by your really dumb policies.
Right,
All
he's
Terrible.
literally, if you made New York a country as opposed to a state, if it was a country by itself, it would have the highest deaths per capita in the world.
Oh yeah, it beat Italy. And you remember how Italy? In
No,
the
it
very
was worse
beginning,
than
They were
Italy.
dropping. Italy like dropping off like flies, and New York by itself topped that. But no, let's tout him by anything but the angel of death, which he clearly is.
But anyway, so the media's done that to me so much this year, and I'm sick of it. They've always done it to some degree, but like they kicked it up to a whole nother level this year.
Yeah.
So you have another grievance?
Well, I guess mine goes along with that. Democrats' short-term memory loss. I mean, it's.
Are we talking about specifically the fact that Joe Biden can't remember what he had for breakfast today?
Okay, that too. So that's one of them. And
okay, so you're talking about in general.
Just general. They're short-term. Like right now, how it's like, oh, Hillary totally conceded the election and never had an issue, or how it's undermining democracy to claim that there was election fraud and all this stuff. And he should just concede because it's the patriotic thing to do. I'm like,
or how about how George H.W. Bush and John McCain were patriots and pillars of what it is to be an American when they were racist just a few years ago.
And then how Hillary Clinton just a week before the election was saying to Joe Biden, don't concede no matter what. How just 2 years ago we were dealing with them trying to impeach Trump over a fraudulent election. Anybody remember that? I mean, this is just like, you gotta be like a goldfish at this point not to remember how ridiculous they have been until this point. But no, they're gonna move on and act like, you know what, I think it's time to unify because we really weren't that bad.
You know what's really sad though, Laura? As much as that annoys me and that's like a totally legitimate grievance, I'm with you on that.
Yep.
It's also true that I think the American people have the short-term memory loss, and that's the reason the Democrats get away with it. Is because
it's true, they're getting away. They're letting them get away with it.
Democrats Democrats just make these stories up that, like, if you have a memory that lasts more than 10 days ago, you actually understand that they take the exact opposite position that they did then, but because everybody in the public just kind of forgets about it, they don't, there's no repercussions for it.
Well, I think all the leftists in the public do. I think the conservatives are still holding on to it.
To an extent, but I even think they have a pretty short memory, to be perfectly honest. But,
No,
that's
people
me.
do often.
Okay, here's another one, an apolitical one. People driving slow in the fast lane.
Like,
Preach.
come on.
Oh my gosh. And the worst one is not just the guy that's driving slow in the fast lane, it's the guy that's driving slow in the slow lane, and then the guy next to him driving slow in the fast lane, so you can't even pass him.
Yeah.
I mean,
But they're just,
I think
like,
it should be perfectly
slowly-
legal to just shoot at those cars.
I'm for it. I think
Can
we
we
should
get
have
that
at least like
passed?
a flashboard on top of your car saying, "Move over. It's not gonna work. Give up."
I want to go full on Batman and just like missile launcher. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm for that.
I'm sure I can get that installed in my truck.
But only if it obliterates them or just basically dust, because otherwise they get in the way, you cause a wreck, and then there's
Yeah,
traffic
it's
jam.
true.
Yeah.
This is the one time where I would be okay with the Karens showing up, because in Alabama, driving slow in the left lane is a criminal offense. So you get the Karens, behind somebody that's driving slow in the left lane. They call 911. They report the criminal in front of them, gets them off the road. Hey, I'm okay with that. That's not
Yeah,
a
but
problem.
it's probably the
You know,
Karens doing that.
I was about to say, Matt, it's the Karens doing it, and they're wearing a mask while they're doing it.
Yeah, by themselves in
true.
their minivan.
But anyway, that drives me absolutely nuts.
Amen to that.
I know I've got a little bit of a lead foot. It's a personal failing of mine. I get it.
Don't we all?
But oh my gosh, if I want to do it, that should be my decision to make. And you going 10 miles below the speed limit to where I can't even pass you, just get off the road.
Agreed. It's not that hard. Just stay right.
Right.
Stay right.
Always.
Right, Laura?
All right. So my last one is these COVID restrictions at doctors' offices. Like, I'm sorry, I can't take like one person with me. Okay, and here's what's really weird. So, another pregnancy-related complaint, but my husband could go with me if I'm having an ultrasound. But if it's the first time we're hearing my child's heartbeat, he can't go. If it's anything but an ultrasound, he is not allowed to go with me. Which I'm glad he can go at least to the ultrasounds. But like, what if my child was dead and I like had to go deal with that by myself? Or like all the other appointments I've had to deal with by myself, like, oh hey, let's talk about where you're gonna give birth. I'd like to have my husband there for that conversation. So I just think that's silly. I mean, some of it just I get it, you want to be cautious, but can we use some reason in this?
I think that's too much to ask, and I think,
Yeah.
honestly, the way that everything has unfolded this year, especially with the coronavirus stuff, I think we've shown over and over again that logic plays no role in it.
I know, but the doctors are being the most unreasonable.
Which
and
is
they should be the
odd.
ones that know the best.
Right. But like going into a restaurant where you have to put a mask on to walk 2 feet to your table, then take the mask off, and you're perfectly safe then.
It's great. It's protect. Oh, or like, going to the Black Lives Matter rally, you're good.
Well,
The virus is not going to touch
this
you.
is the wokest virus we've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're at John Lewis's funeral, or if you're at a Black Lives Matter riot,
It's good.
then you're fine. But
Trump rally, forget that. You all going to die.
11 people at Thanksgiving, death sentence, everybody.
Yep. Or if you're like singing, nope, can't do that.
Right. I think Matt and I actually talked on that in the last interview that we did. It was like, well, apparently, according to the city of New York, getting out and burning down an auto zone, perfectly acceptable. 11 people getting together to take the Lord's Supper, that must be stopped.
Oh yeah, clearly.
But anyway, well, my last one is censorship. And I've always hated censorship. I think I've got a pretty strong libertarian streak, and my audience has come to know me for that. But it's just gotten so bad recently, and I get it. Like Facebook, Twitter, they're all private companies. They can do this if they want to. But if they're going to, they shouldn't get the protections that come with being a platform.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like, if Facebook wants to be the New York Times and they want to come out and say, you know what, we hate conservatives, we don't even want you guys on here, they have the right to do it, but don't get taxpayer-funded protection from us for being a platform if you're not going to be a platform.
Someone needs to amend Section 230. It's got to happen.
Well, they actually tried it not too recently, but I don't think that effort is going to go through.
It definitely won't now that Joe Biden's coming into office.
Well, they were trying to shoehorn it in before he got into office,
Yeah.
but I don't think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's going to do anything. It is really disheartening because just the arrogance of people that, because here's the thing, I tell people up front, I'm an opinionated guy, I'm biased, I don't pretend to be unbiased, I'm not a journalist, I'm a commentator. But here's the thing, I tell you that up front.
Yeah.
You know where you stand with me. I'm not pretending to be, Mr. Objectivity or anything.
No, yeah.
And because of that, I also don't mind other people with different opinions talking about it. I don't try to shut up the New York Times or MSNBC or even just here locally. I don't want AL.com to go under. I don't want the Montgomery Advertiser to not be doing stuff. I don't want to shut down Josh Moon.
No,
I mean, just because he's freaking entertaining for the main thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I mean, it makes my job easier. But, I don't want to cancel people just because I disagree with them, because I believe ultimately that if you meet together on the battlefield of ideas, the American people, even if they get it wrong, they get to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I might be wrong on something, and I don't want to rob them of the ability to hear what is correct just because I happen to be mistaken.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I think, now, I will say CNN, NBC, all of them, those are supposed to be objective journalists. So if you're talking about their opinion pieces, that's fine.
Yeah.
But, just the objective journalism that they're supposed to be doing, that totally doesn't exist. Yeah, that's a problem.
Well, see, I don't even care that they're biased. I do care that they pretend not to be biased when they clearly are.
Yes.
But my biggest issue with them is that many of those organizations have now acted as fact checkers.
Yeah.
For these media organizations, and then Facebook just like, guys, it wasn't us, it was our independent fact checkers, and they
We're
pretend as though
clearly
they're
not.
not biased.
Yeah, that's what kills me on Facebook.
Like, guys,
right
it was
now.
Snopes. I was like, really, Snopes that has fact checked the Babylon Bee 8 times now?
They're
That's
doing
your crack
great.
squad that's going to be determining this? Can't even tell the difference in a parody site and a real site? Come on.
It kills me. And Facebook especially, it's like you post something and they have this fact check on there and it's like, it doesn't even make sense.
Mm.
What was it? The ballots thing. Well, it's out of context. No. If you, suitcases.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Maybe it does lack context. Why is that your job?
And how is it the point? Because if it's showing it at all, the context doesn't matter. It doesn't help you.
Right. I don't see how raw video...
Yeah, that's not going to help out anybody. And then,
when you're censoring raw video, something's wrong. Like, it's unedited.
Even talking about Democrats' comments on stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's out of context. I'm like, how is that any better? It's still not okay.
I mean, yes, things can be taken out of context. I get
Sure.
that. But don't protect me from the information.
Yeah.
I can do that. And another thing...
People can discern.
Right. And another thing on this whole thing, I've got a great story to tell you about that. Mm-hmm. I was sharing an article, I want to say it was Conservative Review, Daniel Horowitz.
No.
And it was about some coronavirus numbers, and they gave the fact check saying that it was incorrect. And the reason, because whenever this happens, I actually go to their fact checker and read their side, because I actually want to get both sides. Mm-hmm. Even though they never do that for a left-leaning article. But I went back and looked through their fact check to see where Daniel Horowitz might have been wrong. Well, what they said was the issue is that he was using a study that had been withdrawn. So in other words, they put forward the study and then they withdrew it because there was incorrect information. Mm-hmm. Now, normally I'd be like, okay, that I don't agree with the censoring, but that makes sense that would be included in the fact check. Here's the problem with that: the headline of the article is that the Medical Association had withdrawn. It's in the headline. They withdrew it. Them withdrawing the study was the headline.
But no, it's wrong because it was a withdrawn thing, and yeah.
Right. It literally says that it was a withdrawn study in the headline.
No, they just want to discredit things that it's.
Because here's the thing, it was a study. I think you probably heard about this. It was a study that basically proved that masks work. And Daniel Horowitz was putting forward the story. He's like, yeah, they had to withdraw it because it was a load of crap, and their case numbers started rising dramatically the second they released the study. And then Facebook fact-checked him for that, even though he just reported what happened. It wasn't even an opinion piece.
It's really stupid.
But
All levels of stupid.
anyway, so that's been this year's edition of the Airing of Grievances, and I've had a lot of fun, and I know that Laura is going to be super stoked.
I feel better getting it off my chest.
I do too. I love this time of year. It gives me a chance to reset, and I know I have 365 days to get riled up again. Mm-hmm. So
I'll probably be riled up again in another hour. It's good.
Yeah, well, that makes for great radio, though. So I know that you are super excited though about our next segment because That's right. We're doing a top 10. This time it is going to be the top 10 Christmas songs.
My favorites.
Yes. So we're going to be, Laura and I are going to be doing our top 10 Christmas songs. So let's go to the top 10.
Tactics Top 10.
All right, so the way that this works, we didn't do it the way that we normally do a top 10 here at Tactics when there's more than one of us. So Laura and I are just going to alternate. And, because there's so many Christmas songs out there, we probably didn't hit very many of the same ones. So
We didn't hit any of the same ones.
I don't think we did. I haven't seen your list, so I don't actually know. So we'll go ahead and get started with number 10.
Number 10.
All right, so number 10 on my list is the 12 Redneck Days of Christmas.
I'll agree that one is a great song.
That is a good song.
It was hilarious.
And I love that song so much that ever since it came out when I was, a teenager, I think, I can still do all 12 from memory. 12, pack of Bud, 11, wrestling tickets, 10, a Copenhagen, 9, years probation, 8, table dancer, 7, packs of Redman, 6, cans of Spam, 5, flannel shirts, 4, Big Mud tires, 3, shotgun shells, 2, hunting dogs, and some parts to a Mustang GT.
There you go.
So,
That's impressive.
Thank
That's
you.
impressive.
Yes.
I can't even
appreciate
remember
that.
all the words to that. And I used to have to listen to it 20 million times a day with my brothers.
I had a feeling
Sounds about right.
that seems like right up your brother's alley.
That is completely up his alley. It's his favorite.
Yeah.
That and Grandpa got run over by a beer truck.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one, too.
That sounds like, yeah. All right, so what's your number 10?
Sleigh Ride. And like the instrumental version of it. Like, I think it's so well done musically, and of course you add in actual sleigh bells, and then I don't know. I love anything that I've ever played as a musician, and that one's so fun for me to play. I like it.
I'm sure it's a good song, but I've never heard it before, so I can't comment.
How do you not heard Sleigh Ride? Everybody has heard Sleigh Ride.
Well, maybe I've heard it and I just don't know it, but, that's okay. We'll go on to number 9.
We're going to have this conversation.
Number 9.
All right, so my number 9 is, I think, one of the prettiest songs that you'll ever hear, and it really doesn't have as much to do with the music or even the lyrics. It's just the singer. Pretty Paper by Randy Travis.
I've never heard it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you can't get mad at me for not having heard the last one.
No, mine's a classic. The other is Randy Travis.
Randy Travis is a classic.
He's not like Sleigh Ride.
I disagree, but anyway, I'm not even a huge fan of the lyrics in that song. I mean, it's got good music and it's not got bad lyrics, but I mean, like, Randy Travis just has a fantastic voice and he kills it in that song. So that's my number 9. What about yours?
Christmas Time's a Comin', because I grew up on bluegrass, and
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah, so I like that.
Yeah, you're a
song
Tennessee
lot.
girl. That makes sense.
I am a Tennessee girl. My dad was in the bluegrass band. My brothers played guitar and banjo and all of that. And, so I grew up hearing things like Christmas Time's a Comin', and I loved it.
Okay,
Still love it.
great pick. Let's go on to number 8.
Number 8.
All right, and number 8 on my list, it's another funny one, "Drunk on Christmas"
Okay, that was good.
by John Rich.
I'll give points there.
Okay, so you have heard this one.
I have heard that one.
Okay, so usually when I say this, people have no idea what I'm talking about, but I love John Rich. I've always been a huge Big and Rich fan.
Yeah. I listened to Big and Rich when I was a teenager.
Right.
I do know them.
Yeah.
But I've heard that one.
Yeah, "Drunk on Christmas" is really funny. I think it's the funniest Christmas song ever, in my opinion. So if we're doing comedy, like, that would be my number 1.
Really? Have you heard, like, Jingle Bombs, though? Because that was pretty funny.
I don't know. I don't think it's not funny. I just don't think it's funny as "Drunk on Christmas."
Yeah.
What's your number 8?
I'll Be Home for Christmas, which has a whole new level of significance for me now, living
Is there any particular
here.
version or just in general that song?
No, just in general, that song. I don't like anything modern. Any modern version of it, I'm probably going to hate it.
Okay, fair enough.
That's just my general rule for everything, though.
See, that'll be useful going forward. We'll know that you just don't like that. So let's go on to number 7.
Number 7.
And number 7 on my list is "Santa Claus is Coming to Town."
Yeah, okay, that is a great version of that song, though.
And I was going to say specifically the Jackson 5 version. I love that.
Yeah. That is a really good one. I mean, like, the other one can be pretty but that one is awesome.
You ever seen The Longest Yard?
No.
I have.
Oh, well, Matt, maybe you'll get this one. I like Little Michael.
It's been a long time, but I'm remembering that. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, I like Michael Jackson's later stuff too, but like that Christmas album with the Jackson 5, and that's the best one on there. Like that's a fantastic album, but that's the best song on it.
So good. Yeah, I listen to that one every year too.
Yeah. What's yours for number 7?
So I feel like mine are so lame compared to yours because I'm like such a classic nerd, but
yeah.
Anything from the Nutcracker Suite. That's just, I'm lumping that all together because I love them equally. But again, I love anything that I've played.
Did you really just use an entire ballet in one slash?
So good. It's so good. Because I've played the entire ballet. So I can honestly tell you that I've played the entire music from it. And I, have a mad respect for it in that sense because I know how to listen for all of the parts. And it gives me more appreciation of it. Whereas if you're just listening to it, I can see why people would be maybe a little bored.
Yeah, I think especially with the Nutcracker, the reason that it's just hard for women to get their guys to go out and see it is because it's called the Nutcracker.
I mean, I feel like that's fair. My dog is a little bit more appreciative given he has no nuts. But
right.
Poor Eddie.
And by the way, if anybody out there is upset that I just used 6th grade humor, dude, you knew what you were getting into when you started watching the show.
Why are you even watching the show?
You were in the wrong place, my friend.
We've been probably cracking 6th grade level jokes all night.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6 for me is one that I feel like is very controversial because there's people that love it and people that hate it, but I love it personally. And it might have something to do with I just really like the artist that wrote it, Wonderful Christmas Time.
That's the one that's like, simply
having a wonderful Christmas time.
How do you know that one and not Sleigh Ride?
Paul McCartney. He's a Beatle, Laura.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's a good one. I actually do like that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you approve.
Yeah.
And guys, Laura's tough on me when it comes to musical selection.
Oh, all the time, yeah. And in fact, this is why this whole thing is hilarious, is because, like, every year it's an argument over when you start listening to Christmas music.
Right, but we're in December, so it's safe for both of us.
It happens year-round at our house. It just does.
In November.
Matt,
November.
I don't think I've ever told you how much I appreciate and admire you.
There's not many a man who could put up with this.
Laura loves all things Christmas. Christmas in our house starts at October 31st at midnight, when it goes to November 1st. One thing, look, I'm still a rookie when it comes to being married. But it seems to me that when it comes to choosing your battles, if your wife is really passionate about something and you're kind of indifferent, let her do what she wants. That's not the time to throw down.
See, because here on Tactics, it's not just debate tactics, it's also tactics for dealing with your wife.
Real story.
Yep.
So
this year I was pregnant, and he was like, yes, baby, what can I do?
Yes, dear, have some more chocolate, dear. These are all very safe tactics if you're not sure what to do.
Good advice. Good
Accurate.
advice. All right, Laura, you're number 6.
Christmas Waltz. And I think the Partridge Family is my favorite version of that.
Okay, yeah.
I like that one a lot.
I don't know that as well, but I have heard it. So,
yeah, and the Partridge Family is just great. Like they're a name in and of themselves. They're just fantastic. So
I was really more of
back to the 70s.
I was really more of a Bewitched kind of person, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to number 5.
Number 5.
5 Christmas songs. All right, so my number 5 is Holly Jolly Christmas.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like this song in any of its forms. I like the original and the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but I think the best version, in my opinion, is Alan Jackson.
Okay, I like Alan Jackson as an artist. I really do. I think he's fantastic. I did enjoy his Bluegrass album. It was actually pretty good.
Yep.
But I don't know that I would agree with him on this one.
Okay.
On that one. But I like Holly Jolly Christmas. I just think Alan Jackson's maybe not the right person to sing that one.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. That's your opinion.
I just like to keep my Alan Jackson and my Christmas music separate.
See, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not. So there you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's some things that should be kept separate and apart.
Working in some Church of Christ humor. All our Baptist viewers, that just went right over their heads. They had no idea what that was about.
Can we have Church of Christ humor at Christmas time? I don't know if that's okay.
Wait a second.
It's mixing.
Christmas humor and Church of Christ must be kept separate.
Separate apart.
Well played.
Hashtag no Christmas here.
No, we're cool with it.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah, it's really not an issue for us. All right.
We
Laura,
just crack jokes about it.
Right. Laura, what was your number 5?
Christmas canon. I think Trans-Siberian Orchestra did the best version of that to me. And I love Trans-Siberian Orchestra. If you don't know them, they're like a rock orchestra type, and they're stinking awesome. But the Christmas canon is awesome.
You know, I specifically didn't include any Trans-Siberian Orchestra on my list because they're instrumental only, and I don't know why, but just...
They have some vocals. Like, Christmas canon is vocal.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that, but I will say I love Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
They're so good.
Like Mad Russian and what's the other one? Holly or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, all their stuff is like medleys and remixes, but it's really good. They're very talented. They're like the
so awesome.
They're like the ELO of Christmas music.
Yeah, and they're doing a like a live show that you can stream from your home like this Friday, and I am beyond excited.
Oh, that is cool.
Like, yeah. Yeah,
that is right up your alley too.
It's my fave.
Christmas special, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Christmas, Laura.
Yeah, Laura's here.
It's like all the Laura things.
Yep.
It's like that time they did the Oscars and the Oscar winner was a movie about like a gay black director. It's like, wow, that's like all the Oscar things. All right, let's move on to number 4.
Number 4.
All right, number 4 on my list is one by my favorite band of all time. And this is just a really good song. It's an original one by them. Please Come Home for Christmas by the Eagles.
Okay, that is actually really good.
It's a really good song,
I
especially
do like
the
that one.
intro. I don't know what it is about the Eagles. I mean, all their music is good and their songs are good from start to finish, but like they just nail every single intro.
Yeah.
Like Already Gone and Life in the Fast Lane, those are 2 of the best rock intros of all time. But this one in particular, that bells will be ringing. Oh, that's so good.
It's well done. And I mean, the Eagles are awesome. I mean, there are very few. I like rock. I love classic rock. And the Eagles are the epitome of awesome classic rock. And they nailed that song. So I'll give a lot of points there.
Oh, for sure. I love that song. It's just got great instrumentals, it's the Eagles. Great instrumentals, great vocals. There's really nothing to complain about. Such a good song.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Laura, what's your number 4?
I think my number 4 would be the Christmas festival song done by the Boston Pops. I love the Boston Pops. And they did it's a medley, but they just did it so well. And, like, I just love anything with strong brass parts, like low brass coming out, the French horns, because I used to be a French horn player, so I'm biased.
Makes sense.
But, like, oh, it's good. I can listen to that over and over again.
So you could say that you're a big brass fan.
I'm a big brass fan.
We're back to the 6th grade humor.
Basically, yeah. Again, this is just us. You knew this.
Yes. No one should be upset at us because you knew what you were getting when you bought the ticket.
You watch this show?
All right, let's go to number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3 on my list is Silver Bells. And
good.
there are several good versions of this song. I like this song just, because it's this song, and so I'll enjoy any version of it. I think Elvis Presley has the best version.
As a native of West Tennessee, I can't argue that.
My question is, have you heard the Richard Nixon version of Silver Bells?
What the?
Yeah, so that's the thing. And his dad does it every year at Christmas, and it's my favorite.
My father, he loves doing voices of presidents, and somehow, I don't know whether he heard this from somebody like Richard Little or whether he came up with it himself, but Dad decided to sing Silver Bells in the Richard Nixon voice, and it cracks me up every year.
I mean, it comes on, and he's just automatically going into it.
Yeah. Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city.
Every
like
time.
It's got the peace signs going and everything.
Yeah.
He'll like take Richard Little's, parodies of Nixon and, one up him a little bit.
Okay.
That's kind of what he does.
So funny. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Silver Bells with Elvis. I mean, you can't go wrong with Elvis.
No,
Elvis does it. It's probably amazing.
Just about anything that Elvis does is fantastic. But yeah, Matt, I'm gonna have to get your dad to do that at some point.
We can make that happen,
100%.
absolutely. And our kid is gonna grow up, screwed up, because he's gonna grow up hearing his grandfather singing that. He's gonna think it's normal, and
like what even is?
He's gonna think that's the version of Silver Bells
Yes.
you're supposed to sing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's accurate.
God bless you, kid.
You're gonna need some help.
All right, Laura, what was your number 3?
So Dominic the Italian Christmas Donkey.
Okay, you've lost me on this one. I have no idea.
It's real. Dean Martin does it, and I think it's like an Italian classic. But yeah, it's awesomely hilarious. Like it cracks me up every time.
I mean, it may be really good, and I just never heard of it. But
I think it's like meant to be serious.
that
but, like,
that threw me for a loop. So
it's great. Heard it for the first time a couple of years ago. It's like one of my favorites every year.
all right, well, let's. I don't even know how to recover from that.
There's not a way to recover.
Right,
from
let's just go to number. Let's just go to number 2.
Number 2.
Now, my number 2 is kind of like my number 3 in the sense that I like every version that I've heard of it. I just like the song itself, and there's lots of different versions that I enjoy listening to. But Carol of the Bells.
Yeah, that's good.
Love Carol of the Bells. I love the Pentatonics version. They do a really good rendition. You didn't like that one.
I don't like the Pentatonics.
Okay. I think a better version is the one that it was a string quartet. I want to say it was the piano guys maybe that did that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Theirs is really, really good. That may be my favorite one. There's Ding Fries Are Done.
That's good
another
too.
good one.
Who did that? It was a Family Guy.
Well, they actually copied the original video. They just did a parody of the parody. So yeah, but they did do a version of Ding Fries Are Done. And what's funny is Burger King this year actually did a commercial with the Ding Fries. Yeah, they did. So they just decided to steer into the skid like 11 years after it happened. So.
I mean, take it head on. It was great.
I don't know why you wouldn't, but I mean, all joking aside, Carol of the Bells, it's an incredibly versatile Christmas carol.
Yeah.
It's just musically complicated, and that's one of the things I like about it. The instrumentals in it are really good, regardless of who's doing it.
Yeah.
And so I just love that song. You can have it with lyrics, you can have it without lyrics, and do just instrumental. It's one of the best songs, regardless of what form it takes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and Carol of the Bells is actually kind of a canon musically. And so I love a good canon, because canons, when done properly, have a beautiful chord structure. And Carol of the Bells is just a great example of that.
And I love cannons because it's how we beat General Cornwallis and won our liberty. That's why I like cannons.
My mind went there too.
Matt, it's just because
you guys are like infantile.
Being a man,
I was about to say it's just because we're guys and we love America. What's wrong with you, Laura?
Unbathed heathens, Philistines, a lot of you.
We're men. We like seeing stuff blow up. What can we say?
It's true. It's true.
I tried so hard to bring you culture.
Can't drive at the testosterone. It's not going anywhere.
All right, what's your number 2, Laura?
Oh Holy Night. I like every version except for the Mariah Carey version. I know it's most popular. I think it's stupid.
I've probably heard the Mariah Carey version at some point, but I've not listened to it enough to know the different versions. So
it's just no. But like,
okay.
The song itself is very good. And, disclaimer, I don't believe Jesus was born on December 25th. I think any, belief to the contrary is a little bit not based on anything. But, I think...
well, we just lost our sponsors, but whatever.
Oh, guys, sorry. But I think, Oh Holy Night is a good song. It was well done.
Okay.
I love it a lot. It's one of my favorites.
I feel you. All right. And let us go to the big one, number 1.
And number 1.
Just that version I love.
All right, and number 1 on my list, is Christmas in Dixie.
I think you could do better.
No. Christmas in Dixie, Alabama, and I'm not picking it because it's Alabama, but the fact that they're from, and the song actually ends with, and from Fort Payne, Alabama.
Oh, my
Merry Christmas tonight. I love Christmas in Dixie. It's such a good song.
I mean, it's good. Just, I don't know.
You are not enthused about my number one pick.
No, I'm not.
You know,
Better.
you've been very good to me this entire list, and you just waited till number one to crap on my selection.
It's like
You knew
you
it was coming,
expected
man.
anything else.
Yeah. You know what, Matt? That's a good point. I really couldn't be surprised. I don't know why I am.
Yeah.
You got a good point there. All right, so. All right, Laura, what's your number one, who I'm sure is going to be so much better than Christmas in Dixie?
It really is, though.
No, it's
Like,
not.
It's great. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, and I like... It's like, it's so dumb, guys. No, it's great. I like any version that isn't the stupid one that came out recently. Who did that? Was it Casting Crowns? That was awful.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was awful. It was a disgrace to all music everywhere, and frankly, they should burn themselves. Just go ahead and throw themselves in the fire.
Dang.
That's how I feel about it. But the song
Wow.
itself
The views
is
of
amazing.
my wife do not necessarily reflect. I'm just kidding.
But it's real though, and like
You're such a
I thought that way
lawyer.
last year. But like, but yeah, okay. So it has beautiful lyrics like, and peals the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. And it's just, I mean, it's gorgeous. It just, if it doesn't like give you chills as you're listening to it, then where's your heart?
See, I feel that way about Christmas in Dixie, but whatever.
Just whatever. You just quit trying to save face. You know it's not as good.
Well,
No, I know it's better.
guys, well, I think you guys are both missing the big point here, which is you should feel this strongly about the song Christmas Shoes.
That's no. Just go.
I'm just messing with her.
I'll deal with you at home.
See, that's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I don't want to know about. Although I'm not a big fan of the Christmas Shoes song. It's not bad.
How is
but
that even a Christmas song? It's not okay. It's not okay.
It's more of a Christmas song than Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I can agree with that.
I'm kidding. I
I
actually...
think they're both stupid.
No, I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to get off on a tangent here. But it ticks me off that they try to like disguise the Harry Potter movies as Christmas movies because they have one Christmas scene in all of them.
Yeah, and like the fact there's snow and like Hedwig. Like no, it's not a Christmas movie.
Right.
I've heard the argument that Die Hard is really more of a Harry Potter movie than a Christmas movie because they're running around a tower at night trying to fight Alan Rickman. So it's more of a Harry
That's
Potter
a
movie.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
I don't know why I never thought of that. I don't know. On my perspective though, another one that's really funny is when it first came out, they kept playing Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah. Is it just snow?
It-
Snow is all that
Yeah.
you need for
But
Christmas.
but it does have that one Christmas scene.
Yeah, was it
Like-
Santa shows up?
Right, Father Christmas gives Peter his sword and shield, and Lucy her dagger and her vial, and then Susan her bow and her horn.
It's like one scene.
Right, it's like one scene, which is why I didn't really thought it was qualified as a Christmas movie. And then, like a couple years later, when Prince Caspian came out, they were putting that one in at the same time, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, that
guys,
one-
like the first one was a stretch. This one just straight up isn't a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's not even a snowflake in that entire film.
Yeah.
Nope.
But anyway, I don't know. Some people just try to stretch it to do that. I don't know why, but
They do.
anyway, so that's our big Christmas top 10. Fire off in the comments whether you thought we were right or whether we were wrong. I mean,
He's totally wrong.
no,
Christmas
I'm
shoes.
totally right. And I think that the people of Alabama will agree with me that Alabama has the better Christmas song.
Alabama's great, but it's not better than I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. I'll
What?
give it a solid number 10.
Well, I didn't hear the bells on Christmas Day, so there.
That's true. We don't have snow here.
That's
Like,
right.
it's
Yeah.
not even a thing.
But you know what we do have? Christmas in Dixie because of Alabama. All right, let's move. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back here in a second on Tactics. Hey everyone, I'm going to be honest with you. I have had a really, really crappy day. My Auburn Tigers lost to the Gamecocks of all things, and now we're 2-2. Then my Braves lost to the Dodgers of all people. Even though they could have gone to the World Series today, and now they're going to be forced into a Game 7. And on top of all of that, I wound up getting a ticket for $190, completely canceling out the $150 I got for doing a wedding today. So it's just been a terrible day all the way around. But the thing is, as bad as this day has been, there is something that helps me out with it. InsomniaCookies.com. That's right, InsomniaCookies.com. You can go to any of their physical locations, which are in Birmingham or Tuscaloosa or Mobile or Auburn. You can go there and you can get something directly from them, or you can go to their website and get one of these fancy boxes at InsomniaCookies.com. And here's the thing. This is my little secret on this. My favorite dessert is not cookies. My favorite dessert is brownies. And it turns out that Insomnia Cookies, even though I only requested they send me a box of cookies, also sent me brownies. I didn't even know they made brownies. Somebody there must be a mind reader, because I asked for a box of cookies and it's like they knew that I would enjoy the brownies. And so, never had one of these before, never had an Insomnia Cookie brownie. This is the first test. And they do always recommend that you put all of their cookies when you get them out of the box. They recommend that you put them in the microwave. The brownie takes a little bit longer, so you might want to leave it in there for like 20-30 seconds. They recommend 10 for the cookies, but here it goes. First taste test of the Insomnia Cookie brownies. That is actually really good. This has chocolate chips in it, and so you get the consistency of a brownie. You get that really sort of crumbly, moist thing going on, but you also have the chocolate chip. And by the way, that is quite a compliment, because especially a boxed brownie like this, one that arrives in the mail, it's really hard to get that moist consistency, but you pop it in the microwave or in the oven for just a few seconds, and you really do get that moist, like straight out of the oven brownie taste. Oh yeah, it tastes like, it really does taste like I just made a batch of brownies and cut them. Well, actually better than that, because to be honest, I'm not much of a baker. I can cook, but I'm not much of a baker. Like a lot of bachelors, that's just not my forte. And so this is a fantastic, fantastic brownie. And I didn't have to make it into somebody that's a single guy. You know, if I make a pan of brownies, they're probably going to spoil before I could eat them all, because it would make like 20-something brownies. This way, I get a brownie, I get a single serve, I can just buy 1, 2, 3 at a time, and they don't go bad, and I can eat them, and it's like enjoying a brownie fresh out of the oven. So, man, that's a really good brownie. Fantastic. So, check them out at InsomniaCookies.com. That is InsomniaCookies.com. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us here on Tactics. Now, we do have an extra special treat for you. Laura, I know that you're going to get a chuckle out of this. You know, one of the symbol of Christmas, really, is Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
And at Christmas, kids, you know, write letters and put all their deepest wishes and desires into them because they're wanting Santa. And, you know.
I mean, I do.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Look, my mom told me when I was little, Caleb, if you do not believe, you do not receive. Ergo, I still believe in Santa Claus.
I mean, I do too. I mean, I have not given up.
No, me either. So, apparently we're not the only ones.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, a lot of Democrats, evidently.
Oh.
They have also written their letters to Santa Claus, and because this is Tactics, where we make things happen, we have actually intercepted, apparently the security at the United States Postal Service is not real great. So
imagine that.
I know, right?
Found out this election.
Yeah, I think you know, we also got a few ballots. Kidding, John Merrill, don't arrest me for voter fraud. So we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at the Democrats' letters to Santa. Hello, Santa. It's that time of year again when I ask you to please bring Bill enough hookers to keep him out of my hair. I really need your help this year because since I had to since the unfortunate passing of our dear friend Jeffrey Epstein, whom we would never harm, it's been hard to find enough young women. I had several other things I wanted to ask for, but I emailed that list and now I can't find it. Merry Christmas, Empress Cankholes.
Dearest Santa Claus, I know you're tired of hearing this because I ask every year, but can you please send me some kind of cream to fix my face sag? Yesterday, I tripped on my left cheek. Also, I'd like to ask if you could send a few nuclear warheads to Iran. I know they're on your naughty list, but could you do it anyway for my sake? If you give the nukes to them, they won't be able to blame me for Iran having them. Reporting for duty, John Kerry. Santa! As you know, I've always been a bit jealous of my little brother for getting to be on TV all the time. I guess the joke's on him now that I have an Emmy for my acting on TV and now he doesn't. But I really do love him and I want the best for him, so I'd like to ask that we can get the whole family together and the media not find out about it like they did for my big family Thanksgiving with my 80-year-old mother. Who knew the peasants would actually expect me to follow my own laws like some kind of lowly commoner? I'm also running low on lilac hand sanitizer, so send me some more of that, please. Do you also use your prisoners to bottle that? Oops, sorry, I meant to say elves. The thing I'd like to ask for the most is that you get people to stop asking about the real nursing home COVID statistics. It's so frustrating. Don't they know I changed the way we count them to make New York look better? Why are they trying to undo that to make New York, look bad? Godfather, Andrew Cuomo. Greetings, comrade. I've always admired your tireless efforts at furthering our shared socialist agenda by giving away free toys for nothing. I am pleased to report that the plan is working, and now people are expecting to get everything for free well into their 30s and 40s. For Christmas this year, I'd really like another big beach house and fancy yacht to throw big parties in. Now, I know these gifts are far more extravagant than the ones you normally give out, and just remind people that I'm also part of the 1%. But as a fellow socialist like you knows, in socialism, everyone is equal, but some citizens are more equal than others. Death to capitalism! Bernie Sanders. Dear Mr. Claus, well, it seems like you didn't give me what I asked for last year since I'm not the president-elect right now, but I still thought it couldn't hurt to ask again this year. I have several things I'd like, including a tomahawk, eagle feather headdress, and some way to fake a 23andMe test. Also, I feel like I should ask for maybe some kind of bear or something. That will make me seem folksy, right? I'd really love some new big corporate donors, but can you keep that just between us? I'd hate for the voters to think I don't mean what I say about taking out corporations just because most of my campaign money comes from them. Merry Christmas, Princess Boring Horse. Santa baby, since I'm already vice president, there's really only one last thing to ask for. Normally, when I want a better job, I just have to sleep with someone. But there's no way to do that this time since the only man that outranks me only likes 12-year-old white girls. That's not too surprising considering he said that attractive, smart black people only exist in fairy tales. Anyway, since I can't use my lady parts for this, I was wondering if I could ask you for some type of poison that's odorless, tasteless, and completely untraceable. I searched Amazon for iocane powder, but nothing came up. So I was thinking you could help me out? Not for any particular reason. I'm just doing some research on the issue. I'd never actually use it on anyone. Love, Kamala Namala. Hey, you misogynist pig. I don't want anything from you because you're a cisgendered white male and represent everything that's wrong with this patriarchal system. Seriously. The nerve of you, even thinking women can't even, get presents for themselves shows what a hypocrite you are. If you came into my house to leave presents, that's literally the same as rape.
If you were really a saint, you would be like breaking into rich people's houses and taking their stuff they got by exploiting the working class and redistributing it to poor people. That's what my faith teaches me to do. Instead, you use slave elf labor to make toys with corporate sponsorship, just like every other greedy capitalist. I can't even with you. The only comfort I have is that in just 10 years, the Earth will become so hot that your home in the North Pole will be melted away. I so hope you drown. Feliz Navidad, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Look, Fat, I wanted you to know I already got the thing that I wanted most this year. I won my election to the United States Senate. I'll represent the people of New York well, and I promise to do my best to protect all Americans. I mean, the ones that voted for me at least. Because I believe that all men are created equal, endowed by, you know the thing. Anyway, I don't want much this year. Just send me a couple of 12-year-old girls to sniff and a snazzy new boot for my ankle, and I'll be satisfied. Oh, and maybe some lotion for my hairy legs. And if you don't bring me what I want, then you ain't black. Come on, man. I'm not asking for much. This has been a really tough year for me with being criticized for the crime bill I passed last month, and Clarence Thomas being confirmed to the Supreme Court. I just really think it would be nice if you could, who stopped? Happy Easter, Corn Pop.
Yeah, guys, hope you got a real kick out of that last segment. We had a lot of fun making. It was actually an idea from my friend Jordan. She kind of had the initial thought, and then I just kind of rolled with it and turned it into a segment. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's go on now to our daily dose of stupid.
That was stupid.
I know it was stupid.
Really stupid.
Hey, I just said it was stupid.
Well, guys, this is our big daily dose of stupid roundup. So what we do is we put together everything. So this is going to be the yearly dose of stupid. We're going to do enough stupid in this one segment to keep you tied over until next Festivus. So we're going to try. Right, there's going to be a lot of stupid in this.
There's a lot of stupid.
Lots of stupid. There's a lot of stupid in the world, and that's why.
I know.
That's why we do it this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to be counting down the top 5 for our daily doses of stupid. And these are all things that I've done a daily dose of stupid for over the year. And then we are going to be revealing who is our winner of Stupidest Person of the Year. So we've got a lot to pack into this little daily dose of stupid. But first, we are going to start with our honorable mentions.
Honorable mention.
All right, so I had a couple of honorable mentions, and I thought that these were just freaking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite. Democrats discovered federalism this year.
I mean, it's beautiful. I'm glad, but I wish they'd be consistent about it.
Oh, they've already forgotten it now, because that was several months ago. This was a Daily Dose of Stupid, I want to say, back in July or August.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was going on at the time, because, like I said, these are all past Daily Dose of Stupid segments we did at one point in this year. This particular one, as you may recall, when a lot of states were talking about mask mandates and everyone was talking about we need to get Trump to institute a national mask mandate, and we need him to do nationwide shutdowns and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, everybody on the left started saying, well, wait a second, we've got a lot of blue states, and there's a lot of blue state legislatures and blue governors. We could just shut things down on a state-by-state level, guys. We could do that. And I was just like, we've literally been arguing this for 200 years.
Yep.
But that was one of my honorable mentions. Laura, you had one?
Yeah, so John Roberts arguing with himself.
That was pretty funny.
That was just, I'm sorry, that was stupid. Yeah. And you Chief Justice.
Yeah.
Stop being stupid.
So for those of you who may not remember what happened there, the Chief Justice, John Roberts, was literally making the opposite argument that he did on a couple of different issues. But I think this one specifically had to do with, was this one the Obamacare decision where he like reversed? Yeah, okay. I was just making sure because this was your honorable mention.
It was great.
Yeah, so he reversed his decision on he was literally arguing against 2 years ago, John Roberts. He was arguing that he was wrong 2 years ago and flip-flopped. He actually joined the opposing side.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, dude, you missed your chance to do the right thing on that.
It's absolutely astounding. John Roberts, I mean, his opinion changes with whatever direction the wind is blowing.
It's, a lot of times the way he operates is, he's trying to figure out, is the court going to be subject to criticism? And if the answer is yes, then he forms his opinion based around that, rather than trying to stay logically consistent, which is really what a justice is supposed to do.
Well,
accurate.
And that's kind of the really disheartening thing about Chief Justice Roberts is the whole point of having the Supreme Court is to solve contentious issues.
Yep.
I mean, if it was just issues everybody agreed on, then we wouldn't need a court.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just astounds me that like the ones that he's not reliable on are the ones that are contentious and are high tension, and he doesn't want to upset the apple cart, which inevitably results in him upsetting the apple cart.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you call him out as stupid, then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to distinguish why I was still right. What was that recent case he did that in?
Oh, what was that one? That was a recent one. That wasn't.
Yeah, it was really
that
recent.
wasn't this Daily Dose of Stupid.
Jacobson.
Yeah, that was Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn.
Yeah, so it was like one of those where like they shut down, religious services and the Catholic Church sued over it in New York.
Right, Matt and I did a segment on that not too long ago.
Yeah, and so John Roberts is like, I wasn't wrong then, and I wasn't relying on that, but it totally was, but it kind of wasn't.
Yep, he totally was.
But you were, dude. Like, everybody can read.
Yeah, well, I've got one more honorable mention that I just had to bring up, even though it didn't make our top 5. The Montgomery occupational tax. I mean, the levels of stupid that this thing reaches. In fact,
levels of stupid.
Laura and I didn't necessarily think this one should be in the top 5, so it didn't wind up in it, but I had to mention this one because, guys, what happens when you tax something? Anything, regardless of what it is. It discourages people from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You just put a tax on hiring people. Morons. There's not a gentler way to put that.
When just goes up here, you'll know why.
Right. There's a lot of dumb taxes out there, don't get me wrong. There are far more dumb taxes than there are good taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the occupational tax may be the dumbest tax out of all of them. The fact that you would actually tax somebody for hiring people in your city.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is there anything that would be more discouraging of people working in your city or wanting to build a business here? Like,
it's like, why is everybody leaving for Prattville, Wetumpka, or Pike Road? I can't figure it out.
Gee.
Yeah.
Couldn't be the tax rates or the terrible school system.
Mm-hmm.
I love my hometown. I love the river region, but sometimes like the stupidity of people in Montgomery it drives me up a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
that's why we getting out of here. Anybody want a house?
I know there's good, smart people here. I like to think I'm one of them. The people I go to church with, everything. There are good people in Montgomery. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some stupid people in Montgomery.
and they're all in the government.
Most of them are, yes. All right, so let's actually go on to our list, and we'll start with number 5.
Yep.
Number 5.
Okay, so our number 5 for this year for the stupidest of the Daily Dose of Stupid was Joe Biden telling everybody to believe women just a couple months before allegations of him raping someone came out, and then immediately going like, no, don't believe that woman. I mean, believe all women, but don't believe that woman. But I meant what I said when I said believe all women. I just didn't mean all women or believing them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, poor Tara Reid having to, oh my gosh. I mean, every other woman that's stepped forward and say, yeah, he raped me, even if it's not true, was listened to. And Tara Reid's back here like, dude, he's becoming president. He totally raped me. Like, what's
right, and that's
on?
the thing. There's not a lot of evidence on this.
Yeah.
It's very possible that she's making all this crap up and there's no truth to it. It's also possible that it's real.
But, like, it's given less weight than those other women that stepped forward who had even less evidence.
Right, and that's my issue with it. Like, people here remember the Roy Moore thing vividly. And there was, again, not much evidence that backed up what Tara Reid was saying, but it was substantially more than Roy Moore.
Yeah.
It was substantially more than the allegations with Donald Trump.
Brett
Oh, yeah.
Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh,
way
that was
more
a
than Brett
huge
Kavanaugh.
thing.
There was nothing with Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that irritated people about that. Not even necessarily the story itself, it's just the blatant hypocrisy and the double standard of the left immediately saying, well, you have to believe all women and these people should be taken seriously, and you're a sexist for even suggesting that we should hear out the evidence as opposed to just believing them automatically.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second that it came out that the guy that they were running for president, they were like, we really want to investigate this, and she could be lying. We don't.
I mean, just out the window. It's total hypocrisy of the left, but it's real stupid.
Right. This is another one that didn't make the list, but it was another Daily Dose of Stupid I did when Alyssa Milano evolved on Believe All Women as a big leader of the Me Too movement. Yeah, she's one of the ones dressed up and screaming at Brett Kavanaugh, calling him a gang rapist.
Oh, yeah.
But Joe Biden, no, we've got to stop back and take a look at that, and we don't know, that could be wrong.
Yeah, did anybody actually ask her if she should reverse her position on Kavanaugh?
And my favorite
Have you
thing,
evolved on that?
my favorite thing was that radio interview where she goes on with that guy, and she's like, "Look, I think that women should be believed, but they should also be investigated."
Oh, so you mean
It's like-
treat women like humans?
I was like,
Yeah.
wait. So literally what every conservative was calling for in the Brett Kavanaugh thing.
Bingo.
Or in like every allegation sentence. Like, no. No.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It revealed the utter hypocrisy that they only want to believe all women when they think it helps them politically.
Yeah, that's
That's
basically
it.
true for everything they do.
All right, let's go ahead and go to number 4.
Number 4.
Now, number 4 on this list, this actually set a record. I don't know if you knew this, Laura. Did you see this particular segment?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it's the shortest Daily Dose of Stupid we have ever done.
Impressive.
I did it I actually had a timer up in the corner, and I was able to pull it off in 30 seconds.
Wow.
And that includes the clip and everything. So it was Chris Cuomo. This was when the BLM riots and everything was going on. And this is another thing that I love, how they can't decide whether or not the protests were actually peaceful or they weren't peaceful, but that's okay. So this was when they were on the... Well,
Either
they're
way,
not,
you can't get the Rona.
right. But but this was back when they were on the stance of, well, it's not peaceful, but it's okay that they're not peaceful.
Yeah.
And this was Chris Cuomo coming on the air, and he goes, so explain to me, where is it written that protests are supposed to be civil and peaceful? And literally all I did...
Actual Constitution.
Right. Literally all I did was play the clip, and then I said, here, and then pulled up a picture of the First Amendment.
The right of the people to peaceably assemble. Oh, wow. That must be hard, Chris
Yeah.
Cuomo.
Well, here's the thing. Anybody that believes Chris Cuomo either has read or cares about the Constitution is kidding themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, I think anybody who believes that could be easily added to the Daily Dose of Stupid.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's go on and move on to number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3 on this list is a local story. Josh Moon writing an article trying to convince conservatives to vote for Doug Jones by bringing up a thing that conservatives hate.
Yeah.
So it was so funny that, like, I don't have time to go over the whole list again, and if you want more details, just go back and watch it. It wasn't that long ago. Just search for Josh Moon under the Daily Dose of Stupid. But this article, only Josh Moon could have done this.
Yep.
Josh Moon goes through an article, and basically his whole argument of why conservatives should vote for Doug Jones is because it serves their wallets, because now... You see, Doug Jones has been in the Senate for 3 years, so now he's entrenched, and he has friends in the Senate, and he's part of the swamp, and also he could bring back more money from the federal government. That's literally everything conservatives hate.
We do not want that at all. It's like that scene in The Office. Like, I mean, if you know me, I'm a huge Office fan.
Yeah.
But where Pam is talking to Michael, and she's like, "Stop dating my mom," and Michael's like, "Well, now I'm going to date her even harder." It's like, well, now we're just going to vote for Tommy Tuberville even harder.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
You guys know that I was kind of on the fence about Tommy Tuberville, and he was actually my last choice in the Republican primary.
Oh, we feel the same way. That's how we felt about it.
Right, and I still wound up voting for him because I think that he is a good man. I think that he's a moral person.
I mean, he's not Jones.
And that's another thing, that he's not Doug Jones. But like after I read that article, I was like, dang, Moon makes a good point. Tommy Tuberville wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff since he's a brand new senator. So like that's even more incentive for me to vote for Tuberville. Josh Moon made me want to vote for Tuberville more writing that article.
As he did for us all.
I really can't figure out Josh Moon's whole style of writing. He's in a deep red state, and every time he tries to address conservatives, it's either something like that the logic just doesn't work and it backfires on him, or it's like a liberal flame-throwing piece. He may as well echo Hillary Clinton and call Alabamians deplorables, and then it's like, oh, now that I've beat you up like that, will you please read my stuff? Just I think he's coming out with a new book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's going to be a bestseller.
Well, the funny thing about that is, and your analogy there, Matt, isn't bad. It's just that at least Hillary Clinton doesn't say that in front of a room full of people from Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Josh Moon does that.
Yep.
Know your audience, people. Know your audience.
And here's the thing I know you'll love about this, Laura. The clincher at the end of this, when he brings all this to a head and he's making his closing argument, he says, but another thing is that Doug Jones is well respected. He knows government better. He's got friends in Washington. And guys, if Joe Biden wins election, then that means that he is going to be in with the president. He'll know the president, and they'll be able to get a lot done. I'm like, I literally don't want them to do anything.
We don't want that. We want Joe Biden's hands tied.
Mm-hmm. Frankly, I'm the kind of guy that just gridlock is my favorite form of government. But even if I weren't, I wouldn't want the agenda of Joe Biden and Doug Jones to get through.
I mean, Alabama voted against Joe Biden. Why? Right. Because we don't want his agenda.
I mean, this is how stupid this is. This is like if I went to the bluest part of Washington, the state, and was like, guys, you got to vote for my friend here because you know why? Trump loves this guy. I mean, he and Trump are like this. That wouldn't appeal to people in Washington.
No.
That's a blue state.
All levels. Stupid.
Josh Moon, he needs to win Stupidest Person of the Year at some point.
I'll send him an award right now.
Yeah, well, all right, let's go ahead and move on to number 2.
Number 2.
Now, for number 2, this one is kind of a conglomerate, but it was a really good daily dose of stupid, and there was just so many examples of it that I had to keep issuing one after another and just kind of rapid fire them. It was the media and their coverage of the Jacob Blake protest that happened in Kenosha. So it was multifaceted, right? Because the first part was they completely botched the story.
Yeah.
The story was that Jacob Blake was doing nothing wrong and was just basically out for a walk doing nothing, and then an army of police officers descended upon him, started yelling racial epithets at him, and just started shooting him for no reason. That's basically, based on how the media covered it, what you would think would have happened.
Yeah.
And then when you saw the video, you saw that none of that happened. Mm-hmm. The guy was a already convicted rapist who had just come from his victim's house and then reaching into a vehicle where he had a gun on the floorboard. Mm-hmm. Literally everything about that wrong. And then to add insult to injury, these protests came completely unjustified, and riots would be justified no matter what, but even the protests were unjustified. Mm-hmm. And then the media completely screwed up the coverage of that too. I remember the CNN Chiron with the reporter standing in front of a car lot with all the cars on fire behind him, and CNN literally put on the Chiron mostly peaceful protest.
It was so stupid. I'm like, who are you kidding?
And that, folks, is fake news. That is the definition of fake news right there.
Right, you're literally saying that the opposite of what I'm seeing with my own 2 eyeballs.
Totally not what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been better for CNN to have just not run that video than to have run it and then put I don't know, it was a great example of what I was talking about in the airing of grievances, them just trying to straight up tell me that I'm not seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, maybe they should have just shot footage in front of a graveyard. That would have been a nice, mostly peaceful protest for them to film.
I don't know.
Democrats coming together to talk about their grievances. Graveyard.
Yep. But anyway, so we could go all night about just that, but that Daily Dose of Stupid, man,
It was all levels of stupid.
there was so much stupid, it took forever for me to cram all the footage into that one little segment.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, let's go on to our big one of the night, number 1.
And number 1.
Number 1, the stupidest Daily Dose of Stupid all year long, and I think that Laura is especially going to like this one because she's an attorney as well. The lawyer in the Ahmaud Arbery case. So you remember Ahmaud Arbery, you remember that video that came out of Ahmaud Arbery, and he was just presumably just jogging along, and then 3 random guys in a truck come up behind him and just shoot him for no reason. Well, here's the thing that we learned in the course of all that. That video was not originally public information. You know who released it? The defense attorney for the guys that shot Ahmaud Arbery, because he thought the video would help his client's case.
Wow.
I mean, maybe it helped his case in the sense that, like, okay, these guys aren't racist. They're just vigilantes, so we'll give points there-ish.
It still shows them murdering the guy.
No! I mean, clearly, it's not like, okay, as a lawyer, your job is to protect your client in the court of law, not in the court of public opinion. I don't care about that. That's your problem, not
right,
mine.
but this screwed them over in both ways.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all are just... You do not pick the court opinion over the court of law. And either way, just stop. Just no.
Yeah, I think, from an attorney's perspective, the only thing I could think that is plausibly within the realm of reason for why he would release this is that, the guy pulled the gun on, poor Mr. Arbery, and then, he grabbed it and started fighting back. And so the lawyer might have been thinking, well, you see, he was actually the one that reached out and grabbed a gun. Now, granted, if for whatever reason I've got a gun on somebody and they, try to pull it away from me, I'm going to think it's a life or death conflict. The problem is they had no freaking right to stop him in the first place. If I'm jogging down the street and 3 guys, like one truck behind me, one in front, and then a couple guys, pull a gun on me, you know what? I'm going to think they're out to kill me, and I'm going to fight back. And that use of force is justified. So you're right. That dude blew up his client's case, both in the court of public opinion and the court of law. That was some of the worst lawyering I have ever seen in my life. Awful.
Now, Laura, Matt, you both know, I'm not an attorney. You don't want me as your defense attorney.
Spokesperson.
Right.
But even you wouldn't pull something that's
But
stupid.
I'm not dumb enough to show the video
No!
Yeah,
of my client murdering somebody on tape.
exactly.
All levels of idiotic.
Yeah. Now, is this the most impactful Daily Dose of Stupid? No, it's not like, something the president does as far as a policy that affects all of us or something like that. But
it's pretty funny.
it's the dumbest out of everything that we could come up with. This is definitely the dumbest Daily Dose of Stupid all year.
Yep.
All right, so there's only one thing left to do in our big annual Dose of Stupid, and that is to name the stupidest person of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
So, our stupidest person of the year...
It's not me this year.
No, it's not. It's never been you.
Is it me?
No, we've had some heavy hitters, though. We've had some really big people be our Daily Dose of Stupid. AOC, she was champion 2 years running. And,
yeah.
and
It
the
was
way
hard this year getting out of from her.
It was hard, and she actually did place very high. I think she was like 4th or 5th. So she, not as vocal as she normally is, but she placed pretty high this year. My most recent one that I know Laura liked was the Tax the Rich t-shirt that cost $58.
I was so stupid.
But anyway,
Gosh.
so there's been some heavy hitters, very prestigious award, and the way that we do this is if you are featured in a Daily Dose of Stupid, that's 1 point, and so we just count up whoever had the most appearances in a Daily Dose of Stupid. Well, this year it was kind of difficult because what we wound up having happen is a tie. It was tied between Joseph Robinette Biden and Chris Cuomo. But the problem is his brother, Andrew Cuomo, also had 3 appearances by himself, and some of them were together. And so we kind of just wound up figuring that the best way to break the tie would be to feature Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo together. So congratulations to the Cuomo brothers who now share Stupidest Person of the Year. Well done, guys.
They deserve it.
You do.
More than anyone I
Absolutely.
can think of.
Oh, absolutely. You ever watch Stu Does America? It's one of the Blaze shows.
No.
So I'm going to do a little free promo because I like Stu's show and he does a good job. He has a store and he's actually been selling shirts they're like couple shirts, and one says Andrew Cuomo is awful and the other one says Chris Cuomo is worse.
I want those shirts. That's hilarious.
You two should get that.
We wear that though.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
I could see y'all doing that. And
We take
But
pictures of that.
But anyway, yeah, the Cuomo brothers have just been the worst. Did you guys see either of their their little news conferences that they did together as brothers on the air?
I saw the one where what was it? Chris Cuomo was making fun of Andrew Cuomo, or no, it was Andrew Cuomo. Anyway, one of them was making fun of the other for like a big nostril.
Yeah, something
The
like
COVID
that.
test. It was stupid.
Oh, it was so.
I like to mess with my brother
Stupid.
too, but that was stupid.
Yeah, but you don't do it on national TV, and you also don't think your goofy inside family jokes are going to entertain people on a national stage.
Nobody.
Yeah.
But
Don't
don't
get
worry,
jokes.
guys. Completely objective journalist Chris Cuomo and completely objective news outlet CNN doesn't mind having a nightly segment with him interviewing his brother, the governor of New York.
Oh yeah, no, never mind.
No bias going on there whatsoever. All right, guys. This has been really fun. Thanks for
my
being
favorite
with me.
tradition.
Yeah, guys, the Clarks, thank you so much for being with us and being with us throughout the year. You guys have made several guest appearances this year. We always love having you.
No, we love doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Caleb.
All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on and move on to the Chaplain's Report.
In 1775, the Continental Congress created the Chaplain Corps. Under the command of General George Washington, each soldier was required to attend worship service every Sunday. While other armies advanced on their feet, Washington's troops advanced on their knees. It's time for the Chaplain's Report with Caleb Colquitt on tactics.
Chaplain's Report today does come from the book of 1 Samuel. We're going to be continuing our series, and in case you weren't here for the last episode in the Chaplain's Report, so what's going on here is that David and Jonathan have devised a test, because David is convinced, for very good reason, that Saul is trying to kill him. And Jonathan does not want to believe this. He doesn't want to believe that his father wants to kill his best friend, and this is a reasonable thing to not want to happen. And so because of this, they've come up with a little test that on the new moon Sabbath feast that is coming up, that David's just not going to be there. And based on how Saul reacts, if he's very upset that David's not there, then they're going to go ahead and assume that he really does want to kill them, that he was planning on trying to use this as a way to catch him and snare him so that he could do harm to him by having him come to the new moon Sabbath feast. And Jonathan has come up with a way to inform him of his father's reaction, because the story that he's of course going to tell Saul is that David has gone back to Bethlehem for the new moon sacrifice to be with his family, and if Saul is totally okay with this and there really is no ill intent in Saul's heart to hurt David, then what he's going to do is he's going to shoot 3 arrows, and he's going to tell one of his servants, go and retrieve the arrow. And if he says that the arrows are basically beyond you, then that means that it's not safe, that Saul's his reaction to this whole thing was very, very upset and angry. And so this is the signal that they're going to use, so where David can stay nearby and find out what the results of this are without endangering David's life. And so this is how this whole thing works. It's actually a pretty clever little scheme that he and Jonathan hatch up. So we'll go ahead and just keep that in mind when we're reading the reading for today. That comes from 1 Samuel 20, verses 30 through 34. And it says, Then Saul's anger burned against Jonathan, and he said to him, You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, do I not know that you are choosing the son of Jesse to your own shame, and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now then, send men to bring him to me, for he is doomed to die. But Jonathan replied to his father and said to him, "Why must he be put to death? What has he done?" Then Saul hurled his spear at him to strike him and kill him. So Jonathan knew his father had decided to put David to death. Then Jonathan got up from the table in the heat of anger, and did not eat food on the second day of the new moon, because he was worried about David since his father had insulted him. Now, what you just saw transpire is a pretty obvious answer to David and Jonathan's question. Jonathan says, "No, David's not here. He went home to Bethlehem," and immediately Saul assumes the worst, and that is that his son is actually lying to him and David did not go back. That he's hiding and trying to protect David, which is more or less true. I mean, Saul's not way off base here. He may not be protecting, I mean, he is protecting him. He's just, this is actually a test and they're orchestrating it. It's not just that he's given him an excuse. So, I mean, Saul's not unjustified in assuming that Jonathan has basically sided with David over him. But this reaction, though it is very telling of Saul's intent and the intent in his heart, and that's the reason that it was useful for David and Jonathan, I think we want to take a look at this and just see Saul is so consumed with envy and hatred for David that it actually spills over into his own son. Now, this is a moment of passion, and Saul and Jonathan do still stay, like, amicable to one another later on after this. He doesn't, like, cast Jonathan out into exile or hurt him or anything like this. But think about this. In this moment, where Saul surmises, more or less correctly, that Jonathan has chosen to protect David's life rather than give Saul what he wants, he is so furious he tries to kill his own son. That is what envy and hatred does to you. It eats away at your very soul, to where Saul is so angry that Jonathan will not betray an innocent person to turn over to him so that he might kill him, that Saul's reaction to this is to try to murder his own son. That's incredible. And if that's not a cautionary tale to us, to what hating another person or envying the kind of fame or notoriety or skill or talent or whatever else that they have, that it can destroy your soul and eat away at you and cause you to do things that you don't want to do. Because once Saul really takes a step back and looks at the situation, he decides that he doesn't want to destroy his son or his relationship with his son. But in that moment, he could have ended his son's life. And can you imagine what that would have done to Saul psychologically? I mean, it would have destroyed him. And by the way, we actually see where it kind of does destroy him later on in the story when his actions result in the death of Jonathan. And so we're actually going to see that a little bit further down the line. But right here, he could have just absolutely destroyed himself if he had succeeded in doing what he set out to do, which was kill Jonathan because of his anger. I mean, just the level of malice and evil that has to be residing into you to want to kill your own child, that is just absolutely astounding. And Saul, I'm sure, never would have thought he would be the person that would be willing to do that, even in a heated moment of anger. But he is. And see, that's the thing that's important for us to note about this, too. We may think of ourselves as, oh, we'd never be the person that in a moment of passion or a moment of anger that we would lash out or, engage in some kind of sin. We would never be the person that would do this or do that. Just like I'm sure Peter thought he would never be the guy that would deny Jesus. Never, 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 ever. In fact, he says that right before he denies Jesus 3 times. Not just once, 3 times. You see, Saul needed a little humility here to understand his own sinful nature and that he is a human being with passions that are capable of this. And he also needed to realize that this sin was going to do more than just the one thing that he thought it was going to do to him. See, sin has a cascading effect. It destroys the whole of a person. And so here we see Saul engaged in the sin of envy against David, and it leads to a sin that is so horrible that his wrath gets the better of him, and for a moment he came close to killing his own kid. That's what sin does to people. But I want you to notice the contrast in reasoning in these two characters, Saul and Jonathan, that are present in this little episode that we're looking at here tonight. You notice how they argue with one another here and what their approaches are? It says a lot about what's in their heart. Because you'll notice that Saul's appeal to Jonathan is self-interest. When Jonathan is like pushing back on his father and saying, well, why should David be put to death? Saul's response to that is, don't you understand? As long as David is alive, you will not be king. As long as he is here on this earth, then you are not going to inherit this kingdom. My line is not going to be established. He will take the throne from me. Therefore, you will never sit on the throne. That line will not be there anymore. You see, his appeal isn't even, well, I'm your father and you should do what I say. It's not even that. He goes straight to, Jonathan, don't you understand that you won't be king if David is allowed to live? Jonathan doesn't care about that. I mean, maybe Jonathan, I'm sure he's a prince, he's thought about it. That it would be nice to be king one day. That'd be, great. But ultimately, he loves David more than he loves the idea of being on the throne. And if it's God's will for David to be on the throne, then Jonathan doesn't want to stand in the way of that. He loves God and loves David too much to allow that to get in the way of doing what's right. Saul wasn't that way. At this point, Saul doesn't care what God wants. He doesn't care what Jonathan wants. He doesn't care what David wants. The only thing he cares about is keeping the power that he has. And that's why he makes this appeal to Jonathan, is because he thinks that Jonathan thinks like he does. Because that's the appeal that would have worked on Saul if the situation were reversed. Saul, if someone were to appeal to Saul's personal desires, that would be the way to get Saul motivated to do something. Because Saul's heart is not in the right place. The thing that he wants the most is on this earth, not in heaven. The thing that he cares about the most is Saul, not Jonathan, not David, not anybody else. And that's why he has become the monster that he really is. And you see, the reverse of that is that Jonathan doesn't appeal to Saul's self-interest at all. Saul's appeal is to morality. He knows that his father used to be a good man, a very good man. He knows that some of that little bit of Saul's morality and sense and reason, he knows it's still in there. He knows that Saul's soul is salvageable. It's frankly a very Christ-like attitude for Jonathan to adopt. I genuinely believe that if Saul had abandoned this quest to kill David, that Saul could have turned his life around and been a good king for the remainder of his reign. But he doesn't. Jonathan understands, and because of this he acts upon morality. And that's why he makes this appeal to Saul. He says, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He's done nothing worthy of the penalty that you were dishing out. He is saying, Dad, what you're trying to suggest here would be an immoral action that is against God. See, that's Jonathan's appeal, because that's the appeal that would work on Jonathan if the situation were reversed. Because Jonathan still cares about doing what God wants. He cares about God's law. He cares about the law of Moses. He cares about God's direction and his will for his life. Therefore, that's the appeal that would work on Jonathan. Because of that, that's the one he would use on Saul, because he is trying desperately to reach out to the dad that he knows he used to have. Because there was a time where Saul did care quite a bit about what God thought and tried to do what he thought God would want him to do. Jonathan is appealing to that side of Saul that he knows still exists somewhere deep in his soul. And you'll notice it's right after this that the spear throw happens. That's what prompts it. And so it's interesting here that Saul he makes this appeal to he makes this argument to Jonathan to get him to change his mind, which is a selfish appeal. Jonathan's response to that is, but Dad, it's not right, it's immoral. And Saul's reaction to this is, I'm just going to start throwing a spear at him. I mean, if there was a Bible story of a Twitter conversation, that was it. I know that's a weird analogy to make here, but think about it. It's actually true, isn't it? Isn't this what we experience on social media all the time? That we see somebody that's just outraged at something and they just launch into some kind of tirade. And then somebody points out, well, yeah, but your logic isn't working here, and beyond that, it's also immoral. And immediately the guy is fighting mad and just like goes all caps. But that's what just happened here in real life in this little episode between Saul and Jonathan. Saul has no good answer for that. He can't explain to people why he is engaging in this immoral action or why David should be put to death. He can't do that. Therefore, he goes to the very next action that he can think of, which is to kill the messenger, to attack the person that is pointing out that what he is doing is wrong. This is something that, unfortunately, is all too common, and it's part of human nature. That the second somebody points out that we are incorrect, we want to just take them out, especially if we don't have a good counter or a good way to explain that, because it shows us for what we really are. What Jonathan just did is show everybody else in the room that Saul is no longer acting in God's best interest. He is not acting like a moral human being. He is not acting like a good king. And Saul, in his anger, strikes out against Jonathan as a result of that. Now, most of the time when this happens in real life, it's a verbal striking out. It's just they start attacking the person, they'll attack their character, they'll start insulting them, something like that. But in this case, it manifests in real physical violence, where Saul actually throws a spear at Jonathan. And I want to focus in on Jonathan and his reaction to this, because it says that he was so upset by this little episode that he refused to eat on the second day. And this is just something that is really disturbing him. Who can blame him? Jonathan is devastated by this. And why? Because he loves David. Yeah, he doesn't want David to die. He doesn't want David to have to be on the run from his own father. But it's because he loves Saul too. Jonathan loves his dad. He wants the best for him. He doesn't want to see him devolve into the monster that he has become. And so Jonathan's really experiencing heartbreak on two fronts here. He's devastated that now David has to go away and he won't see him again, and that he's not going to be able to live around him like he used to. This was a guy who he considers his brother and is his brother-in-law. And then on the other hand, he hates to see Saul devolve into this animalistic, instinct-driven person that he doesn't even recognize. But ultimately, it's just hard to see two people that you love at odds. It really is. This is why it's so hard for parents to see their kids fighting with one another. I mean, I've seen parents to when their kids just are nasty to one another, and that happens. You know, brothers and sisters, sometimes we don't always get along, and that's something that's really, really hard for parents to see, especially when the kids are adults and they have irreconcilable differences. That devastates a parent. They don't want to see that because they love both of the kids. A divorce is another example of this. The reason that divorce is so devastating for kids, I mean, there's a number of different reasons, but one of the reasons, and one of the reasons it's so difficult, is because the kid genuinely loves both parents most of the time. They love both of those parents, and they don't want to see this happen to them. And that's understandable. To see two people that you love just despise one another. And I know that that doesn't happen in every divorce, but it happens in a lot of them. And so this is what's going on here, but ultimately I think that the lesson we should take away from this is exactly how God feels when we're fighting with each other. Because remember, we're all his children. He loves every single one of us, no matter who we are. And because of that, when he sees people being nasty to one another, backbiting one another, wishing ill on other people, I mean, in politics, which I'm in, you see this all the time. I mean, people literally wishing that someone would die or that their children would die just because they don't like their politics. As petty and dumb as that seems. But think about what that does to God. To see two of his children, two people that he knows intimately in every conceivable way and loves, just attack one another out of spite. And that's one of the reasons, especially in this time of year where we need to be good to one another and hopefully remember that we are all God's children and we're all bound together by that, that we have to remember to be kind and love one another, because there's a number of reasons to do that, but ultimately as Christians and people who care what God thinks about us, we need to also care about him and love him enough to be good to one another, because when we're not, it devastates him. So that's going to be our last Chaplain's Report for the year. Our last show of the year will come back after New Year's Day. So 300 episodes in the books. Pretty excited about that, guys. Thank you so much for the support and the love. We will see you again in 2021. And until that happens, stay the course, friends. Tactics is a production of News Radio 1440 and Cumulus Media Montgomery. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Cumulus Media or our business partners. Graphics by Jessica Dawson. Video production by Jackson Dean. Broadcast studio provided by Faulkner University. Location studio provided by the Dalraida Church of Christ. Copyright 2020.